Shalom. This week's Sedra is Sedra Pinchas. Succession and leadership can be an event in a nation's history that is fraught with controversy, division, and even civil war. Nations are praised when they can demonstrate successive peaceful transfers of power, for they reflect a functional society concerned more for the health of the nation than the egos of their leaders. In this week's Torah portion, the successor to Moshe is discussed. In his commentary to this week's Torah portion, Rashi offered background to the episode that we're going to talk about. When Moshe heard God say to him, "Give the inheritance of Selofchad to his daughters," Moshe said to himself, "The time has come that I should ask something that I want from God, that my sons should inherit my high position." God replied to Moshe, "This isn't what I've decided. Yehoshua deserves to receive the reward for all his work, because he has never departed from the tent." Rashi quoted a lesson that our sages taught from God choosing Yehoshua to succeed Moshe because of all the work Yehoshua put in. This is what Solomon taught in Proverbs when he said, "The one who guards and takes care of the fig tree shall eat the fruit of the tree, and he that serves his rabbi, as Yehoshua did for Moshe, shall be honored." God recorded that Moshe asked God, "Let God, source of all breath of flesh, appoint someone over the community who shall go out before them and come in before them, and who shall take them out and bring them in, so that God's community may not be like sheep that have no shepherd." God answered Moshe, "Single out Yehoshua, the son of Nun, an inspired man. Lay your hand upon him. Invest with him some of your authority, so the whole Israelite community may obey." Moshe did as God commanded him. He took Yehoshua and had him stand before Eleazar the Kohen and before the whole community. He laid his hands upon him and commissioned him as God had spoken through Moshe. In his commentary to the phrase, "he laid his hands upon him," the Cheskuni wrote, this was similar to people offering animal sacrifices, placing their hands and weight on those animals prior to their being slaughtered. The owner of the animal symbolically transferred his essence to the animal, which would take his place instead, seeing that he really should have been the sacrifice. The process was called semicha, literally leaning. The Cheskuni continued, "From this action it became clear that Moshe transferred his authority to Yehoshua willingly. Instead of placing only one hand on him as God had commanded him, he did so with both his hands." The Cheskuni applied this action to modern times, writing that army commanders in the future would also be appointed by their superiors, placing their hands on their juniors when promoting them. Rambam wrote, "All of the offerings require smicha. The obligation to do smicha is derived from the verse, 'He shall lean his hands on the head of his offering.'" In his commentary to the verse that the Rambam quoted, Ralbag wrote that the obligation to lean on an offering is directly related to the sin the person committed. It is the sin that obligates the leaning. Succession can only be successful if the nation understands that the previous leader agreed and blessed the transfer to the new leader. As we've seen in our times, when the previous leader refused to bless the transfer of power, chaos and violence erupt. In an offering, smicha demonstrates the sinner's agreement that they must atone for the sin. And in a transfer of leadership, the smicha signifies the previous leader's blessing of the transfer of power to the next leader. Such an important lesson. Shabbat Shalom.